no nya a general certificate education, a GCE, no advanced a advanced level in 1963. Or twice so Fedan education or call University of Ghana, Legon. No achieve bachelor degree and professional certificate in law 1967. Also assign any PhD or law mo free school na London no or school or London. John Advance Atta Mills or Sanso called Fulbright scholar at a prestigious Stanford Law School or United States of America at the age of 27. Na also at the age of 27 na onya the doctorate degree war Stanford Law School US of A. And see ayobia na wabini papa owie so obon doctorate or taxation or any economic development ni na no dia odi sa adwuma no first formal teaching assignment no ono so or lecture or faculty of law University of Ghana or Legon dia or spend be 25 years wo eho our trade papa or a lecture na obi aka nasem na ende ma sronkwa ama dwumedie obi aka ho asem de se ende the student or train ade na ende oye key no speaker obekasa enye obi ase ye maame Charlotte or say no ye former chairperson de ma Electoral Commission of Ghana ono na ende obekasa odwumedie ase anti oye student or train ade sa so na chairman Edema Jumedi, the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra, ono so bekasa kukudambe brina na eba embrepem ye ni bi mo bedin komona woso wehu moba enche so Jumedi na nkasa ebehya ase enti se wo hwe TVXYZ wo hwe ana wutie power 97.9 FM a mfonyin na ye twa ekere wo no oma owura editorium no mu na nanom ahemfo omoba Jumedi embrepem ye be ya momon kakra akra ma wehu kofo so a eba enti ende no ye papa wenya ne nkrechi ko obesum Ghana ya na yebon nsambrane asomdwe hene enti na ye wo ha ende penifo bebre na aba na Jumedi no afeyi papa omon hyase batma ekoso no ebradwe ne enti ase so enti mbrepem no ye be ma wehu ma ekoso wo Jumedi asom de hya so a be ma wehu wo TVXYZ ene power 97.9 FM na yedi enkomo pakra enti de etino no ende begidi se nipa bebre na eba Jumedi enti bebia wo bia no aha na onim se Ghana kasa ha na Ghana tie enti ma wo fidie no nkoso ende TVXYZ ene power 97.9 FM abra ebe pie mo UPSA yenya ne ntie se enche kra Jumedi no be hyase enti moma ye krado na ye ne mpanifo di nkomo ye hwe nkofo enim kwan enche ye di Jumedi no ebe hya no ma woso wehuma ekoso nti bebia wo bia no me pa che obebre ma koso na ma enda heya fi se ye Jumedi no nti de eteno no ye hu ye papa Alex Mode me mana kwaba na me mana kwaba daddy ye makwaba and this will be PMTVXYZ in power 97.9 FM yentio sentintia amodi be P Jumedi yase.
You all know this is a landmark lecture of our great former president, and it's important that we all come here and pay tribute to him first of all, and of all the good works that he started, that His Excellency John Mahama is continuing with his administration. Some of us were part of John Evans Atta Mills's first administration, and we continue to be with John Mahama's administration, and we're carrying out exactly what he wanted us to do, which is transparency, good governance, and accountability to the people. And that's why we're here.
Okay, you better ask the party. You go to your nimpen for a didn't come. You who say, Nipa Bebre Nankasa, nti the etene no ye hu oba pa ye hu say wo ton books of Professor Mills the late books yi ma benhwe we Atta Mills Speaks to the World we books wo ba won sa betumi ato akabi sa so na Atta Mills Around Regions and also ye book it's all about Atta Mills wetumi abom nkomo kakra concerning book we.
Oh, okay. Me pacho minimum about book ni say we Atta Mills Around the World. Enyama otu kwan eko wiase mu nyina eye. Enyu na ewo sa book yi mu. Na we so Atta Mills Speaks to the World. We ye nsem pa oka ema wiase. Na we so it's all about Atta Mills. Enyama yenim ene ne yenim emfa Atta Mills. Eno na ewo sa book yi mu. Nti ba ko bia 200 cedis each.
Say books ni wo ba ha ansa na oberem no obetumi wonsa aka wo de Atta Mills Around the Regions so na Atta Mills Speaks to the World ansa na it's all about Atta Mills nti books ni obetumi ahwe wudru ha entrance bi wa ha ba ko bia 200 Ghana cedis na ya to bi di aboa JE Mills Memorial Heritage na eno so IFA because ye ko be na sika nti wo behwa wa ha JE Mills Memorial Heritage for no moton books no remu ha wonsa betumi akabi 200 Ghana cedis na wa beje wo de nti ye bedase wo hwe gate na ohun se nipa eba pa nipa bebre na eba adwumadie ye hu se nananom ahemfo eba ye betwe pin wo mo nananom ahemfo eba na omoso bedin komo be ya ahwe se nanan mahemfo mu befi finfi mantom ye papa krom na nti
traditional area
doku traditional area osudoku nene animle na no the 7th nene animle the 7th osudoku traditional area omo na no nti so wo hwe TVXYZ utie power 97.9 FM osu doku nananum ahemfo mo na no omo na de omo nim de abeta adwumedie echi omo nim soma the late Professor Mills besomo my Ghana ye friend asomdwen hene no nti nananum na na efe omo fi osudoku na nti yes osudoku traditional area nti traditional president one na hemfo nananum na no efe yi papa adwumadie no ayefe papa nti demfo ne bebre na ewrum saa so na yehwe se penifo bebre na nkasa nti osudoku ma traditional council oma hene ne nananom ahemfo omo na no efe yi papa efe Honorable, welcome to TVXYZ.
Thank you. I think that it is clear that we are here for the 13th lecture of the late Professor Mills. Professor Mills was the president of Ghana who served for 3.5 years and then unfortunately died when he was president. So ever since the memorial lecture has been instituted, and this is the 13th one. So we are here today to listen to the lecture so that the person lecture.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. Inti yebeko Honorable Kobna Donkoso ho na ni din komo on His Excellency the late Professor Mills so Juma kakra nti Prof Abe ana Dr Abe ye ni no din komo Dr Kwaba.
Yes,
obi ahu ye opru
nyame adom
da nyame ase. Okay, say we be PM 13th lecture na ma DNT na
mbumu no ayeso nonko enti na hia se ye bibi akai no a na ese me baby na nkaye no enye nkaye kwa na emom sede ya ene ya baso ama mufu a ya ba no si ebesua bibi afi no suban Professor Mills tena so bia se oyenipa sabia kan kasa oyenipa na kire se nusu ene na ban no na efe
Dear Pa.
Professor Mills, the Obeka Chire Udemunu, and no Obeka Nabonte, no credit. Mekai se openyi bi ko no ho no koka obi ho asem e no so won twen e na ofo telephone free ni pa ye ka no ho asem no oba ye no se ha asem na wo ka no ka bi sa ni pa no e no credit ene sabio na boso.
And today na wo de big giant omo hwe TV XYZ in the Power 97.9 FM.
Mumba yesua Professor Mills Suban yemfa enokredie ene odo a ye wo magana potokasa mu ye kan patriotism and nationalism no yemfa nimienu enye adwuma emmoa Ghana titru omo a ye Papa John Dramani Mahama apa wo so omo meboa no wo amambuo mu no yemfa enokredie enye adwuma medase.
Okay, yeah, but that's Papa. Me who a former municipal chief executive Dema is now for North Honorable Mohammed Kwekudoku. Yo, Mate. And see you so say penifo I shall say Bawa Wushe TV XYZ Wuti Power 97.9 FM no ye wo UPSA auditorium ha enche jumedie no ebeshase who say nipa bebre na abochenku Wakwaina no a omopese omuram nti jumedie no metene no wa wo TV XYZ na wutie Power 97.9 FM ko ye catcho se mebeko subia no so ye de bebro na wosu ehuma ko se ekwan no ano ayemapa Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs Honorable Samuel Okujetu Ablakwaso ye hu se waba or register na wetumi akomti Yeguso penifo ba ma ekosu bia na ebe ma wosu apu wo TVXYZ any Power 97.9 FM nti penifo no ba na eba wo hwe ma ekoso ha ebradre na nti ase so dwumedie no omaso mpa ade a ye trese ba the 13th lectures of former President Professor J.E. Mills and the dwumedie be from kono se no student a o train ade na ende oye keynote speaker and you'll be say Mrs. Charlotte say former EC chairperson on ende jumedie obekasa wase enti eno na ema jumedie no eye stronko pa enti de etena no wo hwe nkofo a ewremu a security no so very tight but wo fie na wo hwe wo fie na wo tie ya memeka kiro ne se mpa ho wo so betumi aba jumedie ase na IFA papa nti yedi kan say Professor Mills oyobia ma nyame ne mamai na wo hwe eda nyame to nsafre no ekwan a wiemu ye hawa na ne ma kwa na eche se nyame ehira oman Ghana na nyame ehira no oyobia enya de a se Ghana de ni dimbe yira efimoda de bi obi a ka amede me pass somdwe no kre na opa somdwe ampa to ba yeso hu se bibia ya somdwe wo oman Ghana nti yeguso e wo UPSA dwomedie no ekoso no ye ma wo so wehu ma nti very soon enche eyade a ye no beko auditorium ho na omo dwomedie na ase a wo so wehu ma eko nti no Professor Mills obobre papa na then student wa ha no wutie ye ma me beti modidru so a na sama no kan se ono ana o kire na de te ya de a wa chenkofo ade na the student o kire ma de bebre na ya de a we impacting knowledge a onyae no e de ama pempem wo my Ghana nti yedi kan aka nti e de eteno no obehwe ha books bi wa ha yedi kan aka se enya se ye bekeke but books are yedi beka ye papa Professor J.E. Mills the late no ebi wa ha yehu no ho nsem enti wo hwa ye J.E. Mills Professor J.E. Mills memorial heritage on the books bi aba 200 Ghana cedis each 200 Ghana cedis each enti the eternal no was over to be aba beje wo the great lunch nti the great launch no ene no saa so na yewo Atta Mills betumi akabi nti mpanimfo omo no mo abeje omo sodie na ade no atumi ayefe around the regions nti the ten no way books oba wonsa betumi aka. It's all about Atta Mills. It's all about Atta Mills nti say dwumadie no yego so saa utie Power 97.9 FM TVXYZ ekoso no nti the ten no me hu sensentwofo no so bebre na nkasa bepiem wa ha me amenua ba ya atiti so owa ha benene mbo nkomo ya na etisen ye hu wache me ma o ya akoso it is all papa film ye hu se we be 13th lectures of Professor J. Mills the late dear na walker so me
where the answer open adwuma ya hye me
men phone show tell we adwuma nam ti
industry na mo ye chia Ghana fo awie ye nim se NDC yentimi nka ya bakosem ana yentimi ndi ye nkomo ma ne complete without the late President John Evans Atta Mills ne ho nkomo ne suban ne ye no me jimidi ye se ye nyina ye di ho adanse enti edru ne sei na ye nyina ye de ye moa e ba beta ekire na yetimi edi ne ho nkomo enti ye wie de na se ne ho nkomo ne yakai no ne na bakosem ne yama ne suban na ewo ni mu no akoso atena ye mu
wo ye nsentro ne de na wo de bekaye papa
de na me nim ne se onye yiyimu. He has a big heart. He was having a big heart. Onye obi a oye vindictive and fa ho ne political party awodom de onim ne se Ghana first enti we Ghana ni nko ade a Professor Mills who will say we priority ema no eno ne ade a mede kai no pa yeah
Sabibien what the Ameda Minua Basi Attiti Okra, Tejumedi Atia, Yatin and Kao Class TV, Yashen Woho, and Penifugu so Eba Jumedi Asenti, Washa, Carson Ebano, secreting a very tight, and Peniphobia so Boy Remono, Na Yama, Wehuma, Echo, Tijumediano, say very soon, Ayadia, Jumedi Ebeshe Asi, Tesema Yehono, and say Enchakra, Jumediano Beshasi, na. J. Mills, John Evans Atta Mills, Waha, former president, Edema Republic of Ghana, when yani baby ko, ono ho donti na yewaha, and nipa bebre nanka se be pum yehu Reverend Tete, so waha, and meko Reverend Akwaba, Bibiabo Kodie. You are live on TVXYZ and Power 97.9 FM. The Entina Reverend would be pim ha.
Oh, Mabase Danyamiase. We've just come to thank God for the life of His Excellency, President of Blessed Memory, Professor Evans Atta Mills, who was a father to all of us, whom I've known personally, and I'm also privileged to be part of the program. I've been asked to come and officiate it as the pastor, so I'll be doing the opening prayer thing and the closing prayer.
Reverend, Mr. Dean Odebekai, Professor Mills, the late.
Professor Mills was a gentleman. He was a perfect gentleman and a man who was a father to all. He was also a man of peace and a man who understands politics. He was not just an ordinary politician, but he was somebody who had Ghana at heart. Even though he didn't stay long as a president, because he died before the end of his first term, he showed a lot of great partnership with the nation. He was a statesman par excellence and also all the faith and became the father of all. He never shunned his faith as a Christian. And for those of us who served alongside with him as Christian leaders and clergy, we can tell that he was a man who loves God genuinely.
And Yevadasa Papa Panti, Reverend Teteda Yatin Kano, and no obey open prayer at the Aman and Tibrini Nafa, or say Jan Mama. Ono sutumiko auditorium na mo hobiaso or the brain nti yeguso ye wo UPS auditorium ha dwumedie no meko bia no ye de ebro wo TVXYZ any Power 97.9 FM ye hu mpenifo bebre na nkasa wo dwumedie asenti hwa ye be ma wehu omo ba na bibia etumi akọ enkansa me ho me brother bi wa ha ombra na yendi nkomo na say ono so ofi prof kromati ye zikowa kra na no so ma mo krom nyim fantinya na boy no nkomo brother na mpome ye do baza se and they bo poem wa ha na me dey represent Central then they one award TV XYZ in Power 97.9 FM ma eke wo Professor Mills
Mama ke wo prof yi mu yi there oyo bi a say a friend won phone do na prof wan fa e chiro frɛ wo baka cho de na oye meeting oyo bi a say no phone da ne nchen na friend na obepik ana prof yo bi so a do bi no anukum fantofo si de anukum
gossip kokonsan
ke do bi no kokonsan prof obebi so there eye sure ete wan wa frɛ nyipa ma nyipa na ba ete wan wa frɛ nyipa ete wan wa frɛ nyipa ma nyipa na ba na wa ka che there asam na ka kire ne ka kire nyipa kan nyina ye nyim na che de ompe de bejo bi no kokonsa da kire nti adza musu efi prof yin na prof yo bi a oma youth wo hu de won so wo ka abrabọ no ho because yemu bi dey prof no ma ye ba akra nti onam prof do ne ye bodu be ma yen so ye du abrabọ mu nti yama ma ka wo prof yin
okay medas papa mamonko oye brother payin oye mo boss Kwame Jokoto a seasoned journalist. Mame man akwaba. Kwame akwaba.
Yes.
Na bibi abokoze. What town we want. And then there is when you remember the 13th lectures of former President J.E. Mills, Prof. Then na ekafa jumezi. Say what kade kabibi fa no ho. Abazena Kwame Jokoto as a Prof Mills.
Oh, for Prof, actually, especially the youth, I wanna. They were actively, participating in politics now. And most of them, work honesty, papa. Work honesty, papa. But I always say for Prof is a clear example of who a honest leader is. And to say how honest a leader should be. And when John Mahama has been saying that Prof is my mentor, Prof is my mentor, watch how honest John Mahama is, and you see that the honest leader we are talking about, Prof, is John Mahama.
Kwame.
Hello, Jokote.
Medase. It's a Kwame Jokote in the Komono. Your brother Crossover ha. Or my NDC communication a team member. Waha. You didn't Komokra. Important to say.
Bibi
aboko de wosu de wanim nya mebe pie dwumadi ase de na woka
mi da say a special day ya ka Professor Mills ye nyina ye nim nya Professor Mills but for me he's one special person, and in fact every enura chibedu ene who are for the past years now Professor Mills free time be able to around 21st, 22nd, near who and you know who say what done now this kind. So it tells me one thing. Say Professor Mills is one of a kind, or a spiritual person, or hold a special place in the affairs of Almighty. President John Mahama now what is special about him? He made a statement. He said he's a running mate that I am so much pleased with, or in other words, he is a kind I am so much pleased with, and that is Professor Mills. You'll be a minor ashreno, and that's why you realize that a lot of people are here to commemoration, and I'm sure a lot of us will take some lessons away. From lecture na bekoso ewiai.
And the medase papa. Okay, and to say we share a TV XYZ. And a Power 97.9 FM ye wo a UPSC auditorium ha enche ya dia a lecture bekoso a 13th lectures of a Professor J. Mills, the late president of the Republic of Ghana. On inti na wa ha ye didi enkomo aha nti dwumadi a wohwɛ no inside politics inside politics but yɛatɔ yɛ bo ase kakra nti ɛdeɛ ɛte no wohwɛ a nipa bebree na agu so a ɔmo register ɔmo din ne adeɛ nti yɛgu so wɔ ha dwumadie no sɛ nipa no kora ebu so wohwɛ inside nti da meka yɛwɔ stand so wɔ ha woba ɛyɛ adeɛ a books about Professor Mills wo nsa betumi aka bi ne na ayɛ fixed price 200 Ghana cedis nti woba wo nsa betumi aka wo deɛ na no so wetumi ewuram fɛfɛɛfɛ na ayɛ fɛ nti yɛgu so a yɛwɔ ha nimpanifo ekukudam ɛba paa ɛhɔ a yɛne bi so bɛdi nkɔmmɔ na wahuma ɛkɔ nti ɛdeɛ te no security no so yɛ very tight paa nti ɛfa no security sɛm deɛ woni problem woba ha bibia ɛda din a woso betumi aba na wabɛhwɛ wonyɛ late sɛ wobɛn UPS ha baabi deɛ a why not you ka wobɛtumi aba na ma meka no 13th lecture si we no strong coffee sɛ the student no keynote speaker obekasa Mrs. Charlotte Osei, former chairperson the Electoral Commission of Ghana nti ɛdeɛ no books no ɔmo bi na mo papa the great launch and sana it's all about Professor Mills ne nyinaa ne books a woba wonsa betumi akabi woba na wagye wo deɛ na etumi ayɛ fɛ yehu sɛ student ne bi so ekomo pa kyerɛ sɛ obi ani agye me pa kyɛw bebree ayɛ fɛ yɛ nti ɛyɛ na mafa me chia ma me deɛ tene no ɛnkyɛ dwumadie no bɛhyɛ ase yehu Reverend Tete nti Reverend Tete ɔkyerɛ sɛ ɔbɛyɛ open prayer to very soon no ɛyɛ adeɛ a ɔde yɛ bɛhyɛ nyame nsa ti yɛgu so ɛhwɛ okay yehu ɛyɛ the General Secretary ma the great NDC yeah fine can you say something about what is going on today the lecture yes the lecture
where?
We're live on TV XYZ and Power FM.
All right. Just always wonderful to remember the memory of a great man, a great leader of our country, a man who proved through his public service and his dedication to our country that he's one of the examples to aspire to. So it's always wonderful. One of our flag bearers and became president under the NDC as well. So it's always wonderful.
So what do you remember about Professor Mills, if you want to say something about him?
His simplicity, the fact that he always understood that he was just a servant of the people. I think somehow Atta Mills becomes very much more memorable when you remember that the one who took over after John Mahama was his classmate. I'm talking about Akufo-Addo. And the contrast between the two would always remain in the history of our country. One absolutely simple, loving country, dedicated. The other, unfortunately, giving us the most forgettable performance that this country has seen. So, Prof. Mills will always be remembered. I mean, for giving such example of servant leadership for our country.
Okay, yeah, but that's Papa Panti, the General Secretary the great National Democratic Congress. Honorable Fifi Avikwete na yɛtene nka no sesia no obedu nti sesia no say sawosha Honorable Fifi Avikwete ono so ebedru General Secretary de ma NDC orum nti ekukudam no guso room papa okay yehu yempanyimfo bi so awaba mama na akwa be opanyin akwa aba live on TV XYZ tin Power FM then also ezibo poem
sensitive wow yema papa yako and baby anyame fan crash ye me Leslie NDC ghetto president me the ghetto minister na ejina dey no ya ba no say Atta asundwe hini ya papa ba ko ye de yedom e be kire 13th anniversary no until now, and because of the resetting Ghana, no, we are moving forward and we are going to take the power forward with the spirit of Atta. Do you understand me? So we thank you SYZ for your power and your what? The help. So
yeah, more room when I say open term. Yeah, is in Komokakra or campaign for Wutu, my president, Mama Wutu no fo, a senior advisor or a presidency. But I'm do pentem chain is in Komokakra. But you go do paying for the room. Ye hone bezin komo na ehumeko the mama can on chair cra Jumezen obeshase anti ye wo UPSC auditorium yesi oh yeah live coverage is abroad TVXYZ any power 97.9 FM do music na ka the books ni bi wa ha ebotum ba na wa bejo de na boso wa kan ma IFFFFFF anti Jumedie no ahyase ano no say ashase were inside inti omoshase ape no beko that we huma ekososo wo auditorium hanti de tedo no bedi kan akase books no yese de kama na bibia tumi akonkan say wo ba o register answer to we hia enkofu bitu table ho ha wo ba na watro din kama then wafa security omo screen no kakransa wetumi room nti de teno no yehu ye mama honka bibi kakra even tray na bede oh ka bibi tray ye ni say Professor Mills intina ma wo ha na udin
Midin the Evelyn Crying, Council of State member, Eastern Region.
Aha, ye mama Evelyn Crying, Council of State member. Ye mama Bantempa na me hwe no. The name nyama be PM. Ma wo be PM on da then I want to make every 13th lectures of the late Professor Mills. Then na obeka afa ho.
Ni America ni say baby a yadu yi. Ye de nyame ase. Say ebesine Ghana for any NDC party ni wiase nyina yetumi anya botaye bi say ya afibia ye de beka ye papa John Evans Fifi Atta Mills manager ma hoho a me gina ha me de obi anim say na oye me papa prekope ni amede kai no pa mi wura mfidane say oye obi a akola o opani o obi a woni number o frɛ no so a oje o so ade a ehia mo ni a ese ebi a oye de boa sampatam ho no ode ahokeka ani ahopepre eye de ma onipa a oye responsible a ese obeye ade no na ahotoba o yem papa nyame suro yen nyina yenim se oye obi osuro nyame na odo nipa na ne yem ye sanka ye ye de kai no da bia ye srese nyankopon mo ne ho ban na baabi owo no da chi se Erade eba na obebu atan ya yenim se yebehia ye papa bio na ye ne nyina abom ayi nyankopon aye medawase
nti ye maame every crying na yete ne canon or a Council of State member Eastern Region ono na say ye ne ne din komo no watre se ne papa prekopeni the late Professor Mills no ye president ma o my Ghana nti eno ho do na ye na ide be pm ha wo hwe TVXYZ wutie power 97.9 FM enche ye nya ne tie se twumedie ne be hyase apaye no beko na meko su bia so yafa penifo so mbewrem bia no ye ne omo bedidi enkomo na wehuma nti enne de wa ha na ye kai the late Professor Mills ya meto nsafre no 13 years ni enye agrokra but asomdwe hene oyobi ana nyame nsa wono so nti Ghana fo ankasa kra be kaka ye ho a abra nyame to nsafre no wiem sai Ghana na yedin eno no ho kai na ye kai na the lectures so ye di abra wenti ego so ma ye hwe ma ekoso omo mbebem ye ni bi mu bedidi nkomo na wo so wetumi ehuma ekoso wo UPSC nti ye wa ha de eteno no dwumedie na na egu so a ye de bre wo hwe wo fie wo tie wo power 97.9 FM ye no banti wo ba na wa register kama na we room na bibia IFA nti eno na ye wa hai ye di dwumedie no mpanimfo no gu so ba ye nya ne ntie say inside cry ya yema nti ekoso sa na ya ma we hu ma konti very soon ya dia ye beko na yetumi ekofa feed no efi mekoso auditorium ni inside na yedini na edi april Inti deɛ tene no bɛsi yɛwɔ books wɔ ha yɛwɔ nneɛma wɔ ha wo so ba wo nsa bɛtumi aka bi mehu ɛyɛ yɛnua historian Alista Nelson wɔ ha nti wɔfa Alista ɛnyɛ yi koraa yɛne no bɛdi nkɔmmɔ na so mɛwom biara no yɛde aborɔ nti TVXYZ tene ɛyɛ Power 97.9 FM dwumadi a yɛde brɛ no ɛnkyɛ yɛbɛkɔ ɛyɛ auditorium hɔ na yɛhuma ɛkɔ nti yɛhu ɛyɛ political analyst senior political analyst ɛyɛ Alista Nelson ɔmbɛka biribi kakra binom sɛ ɔno so Mordecai ɛfa Professor J.E. Mills ho no na so ɔnka nti senior political analyst ne Alista Nelson mpom te sɛ
Nyame adomo
bibi abɔkɔ deɛ
divine
sɛ wo so webɛpie mu wɔ ha and there 13th lectures of the late Professor Mills no ɔyɛ president of my Ghana deɛ na woka ɛfa ho wɔ Professor Mills
yɛnyina yɛnim Professor John Evans Atta Mills time obedi vice president time of bar politics mu that time no I'm a young guy. I was at the university at the time until that time when to me after Rawlings when to me I'm maintaining seat because of the political terrain. Obviously Rawlings are chair NDC nache, so they wanted a change, but the man was a fine gentleman. He was an affable person. Aoshena going to school his early days baby ne papa ne mama tena where they went to school, who his father was, who the mother was, growing up, going to school in Takwa, then in Komenda and other things, and then going to Achimota School, then onward to Harvard University. Wayebi, at the Nimnidia, Oka, he went to the School of Oriental and African Studies, London School of Economics. He was all over, chartered taxation expert. And he was a lecturer for a long time at the University of Ghana for almost 25 years. When it comes to sports, you could see his contribution in sports, especially when it came to hockey. On one hand, he was an active and ardent hockey player, so he demonstrated it. Even when he became vice president, you could see him when he went to the hockey field. You understand, when he held the hockey stick, that this was the man. So yes, he has come, he lived, he influenced lives. He gave people opportunity in national politics. For instance, if you see what the current president is doing, you could see that he had gone through proper apprenticeship under Professor J.E. Mills. Why do I say that? When he was vice president, under him, he had the opportunity to attend the African Development Bank Corridor Development Project in Senegal under Adisena. It is these development projects, the corridor development projects, that you now see why John Dramani Mahama will never do any project without having an aligned project to it. See, a year keke. We say school. So you see the one in Ablekuma. There's a hospital alongside, there's a school alongside, there's a market alongside, so that others who will not have the opportunity within the vicinity to buy a car and use the road can also use the market and use. Even currently, you can see what he did with the Volta Corridor Development Project, that to the 24-hour economy plus, what he did with it. Yes, clearly coming from a certain standpoint of apprenticeship, and his honesty that he demonstrates today shows it all. Prof came, he lived, he saw it all. And for me, it was an honor even to pass on whilst on the seat. It had never happened before. So it is history. We must know and learn of it. And what happened, how the state even took care after his death. Just immediately, we had not seen that transition in our life before. And then just in some few hours, the vice president was sworn in, somebody was picked, and then clearly we saw a transition. And so it made our democracy look different, and we gave a different shade. Because we had never seen that in our national life before. It was not a good moment. You see the weather some years ago, 13 years ago when he passed, the weather still remains the same. It keeps on reminding us that we must live like the man. He lived for others. He didn't live for himself. That is why you see many people coming from all walks of life, coming to see the occasion or coming to be part of the occasion. Because his policies affected many. And I tell you, he's somebody who will never be forgotten in our national politics. Very calm person, very simple person. Even his family, those who surrounded him, his senior sister, the brothers, if you see them, you see their demeanor, you see that these people are well-cultured persons. And we need to learn about him. We need to put his name in the social studies and history books of our nation and let the youth and children know of what he came to do. Though he was short-lived as president, his mark that he left has made many people today to follow politics. The politics of decency, the politics of going and serving the people, the politics of staying away from corruption and the politics of spending your time to make sure you transform the society that you came to meet when given a chance.
Me no wie em say me hu Anaji Mohammed Nasir so Deputy Director Edba National Identification Authority oba ye ne be din komo na wankasa as a political analyst mo share the political life of Professor Mills then na wakafa ho.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, as for Professor Mills, that's why I'm saying you cannot take anything away from him. Look at what happened in Côte d'Ivoire when there was a lot of trouble and everybody was afraid in Côte d'Ivoire. Look at what he said. Simply, he said, "Diwu fiasem." Currently,
make us say so. The Speaker of Parliament, Right Speaker, Honorable Babin. So it to me, PM ha.
Yeah, and Senior American who influenced many more people. You just announced that the Speaker of Parliament is here. He was nurtured by Professor Mills. He starts in his law school when he was going to law school. So these are some of his products. You can see Right Honorable Bagbin, how he has demonstrated himself in national politics, how he has conducted himself. A direct product of Professor Mills. At one time, he wanted him to become his running mate, if you know the history very well of this party. So, like I said, he has achieved a lot in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, especially if you go to Tamale, you see the Tamale Teaching Hospital, you see the intention behind it at the time. And what he did when it came to education, you understand, he did a lot. What you see today continuing by Professor John Dramani Mahama is because of the laid down foundation by Professor J.A. Mills. I'm saying he influenced a lot of people. If you want to follow Mills, then you enter politics to serve. You don't enter politics to be served. So you go, and then, like I say, the Koto leadership, that one that to turn the ordinary person into that servant leadership that person deserves in order to make the country better. You see his leanings came from Nkrumah. Nkrumah was a very simple person. Years on after Nkrumah had died, we didn't see any property that he acquired whilst he was president. It has come to Professor Mills too. Professor Mills, he detests bribe. He didn't even take bribe whilst he was president. He was scared of it. Look, there's a story that is told of how the auditorium for the University of Cape Coast was built. It was when Airtel came in and they decided to give a token to the president for the opportunity they had got to come and do business. That he directed them that take that token to go and help the University of Cape Coast. They need a new auditorium. So these are the men that we need in our national politics. In recent times, we have seen many young people come into politics and have demonstrated characters which is not good to talk about. In recent past, you just see the 8 years that went, the young men who came into national politics created a crime scene. I'm not sure Professor Mills will be president to see young men or women who gives opportunity to serve the nation, to demonstrate such, behavior. Look at the National Service Scheme. Look at how much money was taken from there. That 498 million could alternatively be invested into something, into youth development, into youth transformation. Look at the cathedral project. You think Professor Mills will come and say in the name of God, trying to dupe the people of Ghana? No, that is not his style. He will not take our 98 million cedis and throw it down the drain like we just saw. He will rather invest and make sure that people benefit from his decisions. Look, go to his household, go to his family, go to where he grew up. He touched many more lives, and I cannot say it much more. I'm sure the speakers who will be here to enumerate what he has done, I'm sure they'll be talking about corruption. And it will be good for everybody who is here to learn from the way he lived away from falling into trouble. When I say falling into trouble, when you are into national politics, you must avoid the temptation of corruption. You must avoid the temptation of doing family and friends. You must avoid the temptation of cronyism. When he was in power, which of his family members did you see that he brought close into government? They all served where they had to serve. You understand? So there's a lot to talk about. We will not stop. Sports development, hockey especially, when he was president. Yes, because of his personal involvement when he was in school and other things. He didn't stop there. When he was president, he made sure he invested a lot of time and energy to transform the hockey. The current hockey field, you see, Teodoso Oko hockey pitch. It was named after him, but he went back and said, no, if you know the history, I don't deserve it. Though I've upgraded the place, the person Teodoso Oko deserves the place. So this is a man, very simple in nature, very simple in design. He came, he saw, he conquered, and for me, he was a hero. In sports, the Cape Coast Stadium, yes, it was under his watch. He loved sports. In 2010, I made an interesting comment that for me, he should have been at the World Cup, especially in a game against Uruguay. He should have been there in camp with the boys. His demeanor, he has been a sports person before. Look, we should have gone through to the semi-finals and to the finals of that 2010 World Cup to honor Professor Mills. I'm telling you, the kind of investments he did in the national team, the kind of attention he gave to that 2010 World Cup. When they came and the captain was sick, it was at the Castle Clinic he went. Yes, he was so much interested in what the team was going to do in South Africa. So, for me, great guy. By all standards, if you take his level to the African space and you try to gauge him across the other countries, look, he's par excellento. Like I told you, when the trouble came in Cote d'Ivoire, the phrase he used, he cut across, is it Tiufiasem? Because that was an internal trouble being fostered in Cote d'Ivoire that people intentionally, the international community, now here on some say Cote d'Ivoire, here on man to question Cote d'Ivoire, or no papa penny, no who dada. Well, and it is true, and that's the reality of our national politics. Oh, wow. I say, we do now, she says, oh, man, across will be in school, papa, and no crossing. We are still lacking. There are still school under trees. There are still towns that need hospitals. Cocoa growing areas still lack hospitals and lack health facilities. Cocoa farmers who are sick and who need healthcare, attention are lacking it. So we have to do more. There's a lot more we have to do. And like I said, if we take up the Professor Mills's principles of staying away from corruption, then we can save a lot of money when it comes to the nation's resources and be able to invest that money into the cycle of nation development and nation transformation when it comes to education, when it comes to community development, when it comes to the development of our society and modernization of our city and other things. So I think that he did his bit. He was a great guy. I would never forget him. I would never, his humility, how he came down, his house to house before he won power, how he even entered people's homes and shared his views with people and why he should be given the opportunity and other things. Much as he tried, he came once, he came twice, he came thrice, but his message sank in the third time and he won. And the government that he set out, everybody saw his clear intentions, that this was a person who wanted to live above reproach. Just that, death is very tricky. Death, nasem ka edin. Osheni papa no afano no de neko. Na akaya e wechire ni say ebesua sai suban na edi kan no. So for me, yes, others will say it's a big hole he left, but many people are filling in the shoes. The many more young people he led into politics today, you are seeing them, those he gave opportunity to be deputy ministers. Today you see some of them who have become ministers and are doing well. You understand? So it was a good trajectory that he left when it came to national politics.
Okay, what the home share a year? Okay, what the home share a year? TVXYZ and a power 97.9 FM. Say Dr. Amwa Kohini. Regional Minister Dr. Amwa Kohini, Regional Minister Edema Ashanti Region Oha. Doc, Kabibika Krache. TVXYZ for a Power FM for. Important to say. You made the interview Ashanti region about the end of Wakafa home. 13th lectures of the late Professor John Atta Mills.
Yabeda will be as na ebium. As it were, Professor Mills, you know, a room model. As we call him. And TM say, and the 13th anniversary I am marking. What's not for so I had to join all the way from Kumasi. And he said the Mills not in the politics in Fara or DBA to form Boko, IBBA, no pass from Ghana and Kosono. I think as upcoming politicians so. Yes, we are in the news, near Magana Hodono and Wayakumu first before any other thing.
Professor Mills, Dimba with you, my dear Nawokai.
Asum simple. Let you fear some. Dimbu no qua. And
the Wusian film, Abra was so. And
it's the two things. He was very loyal to the state and very patriotic as such. And nothing could deter him and his commitment to Ghana. And I think I was hearing who say Ghana is all we have. So anything we do, we should have Ghana at heart and we should be able to, as it were, make Ghana proud anywhere, anytime.
Medase, Dr. Amwako Hine, Regional Minister of the Ashanti region, or no? na yɛne ne di nkɔmmɔ me ne Alisa bɛtoa so na ma ɛkɔ so bi a yɛabɔ nkɔmmɔ nti ma ɛkɔ so sesi a wɔ ɛyɛ UPSA auditorium no yɛnya ne nteɛ sɛ nkyɛ dwumadie no bɛhyɛ aseɛ nti ɔmo hyɛ ase a yɛbɛkɔ na yɛakɔfa ma ɛkɔ so nyinaa ɛde abrɛw yɛhu sɛ titiriw bebree nankasa deɛ ɔmo animnyam abɛtɛ dwumadie yɛakyi na meka sɛ TVXYZ ne Power 97.9 FM yɛde biribiara ɛbrɛw live sɛ wohwɛ na wotie a nti deɛ tene no woba a wobɛwura mu a wobɛhu sɛ yɛwɔ books bi about Professor Mills ne nyinaa bi wɔ ha. It's all about Professor Mills around the regions ne adeɛ 200 Ghana cedis ɛfɛ woduru ha na wɔso watɔ wo deɛ na biribiara ɛtumi akɔ nkan saa nti yɛgu so live on TVXYZ Power 97.9 FM yɛdidi nkɔmmɔ saa nti deɛ tene no wɔso wobɛtumi atie bi yɛhu mpanyinfo bebree nankasa wɔn de wɔn anum nyam abɛtɛ dwumadie ti Alhaji wahati Alhaji Mustafa waha mama Alhaji Akwaba no so mbɔ yɛ nkɔmmɔ wo a wohwɛ TVXYZ na Power 97.9 FM Alhaji bibi abɔkɔ deɛ yɛda nyame ase papaapa deɛ nti na ɛma nda wobɛpie mu hɔ Alhaji
wow nim sɛ yɛ papa yɛ bibia Ghana asomdwohene President Atta Mills, once a president, always a president. And there, day, yes, yenina yembra na yembe sumno. Inti yeba be kaino. Edia ka yenina as appointees. Se jumapa osha se ma Ghana. Ne sena ode Ghana, bebia ode Ghana free. Ne juma oyema Ghana no. Ene ye party NDC so no. I would say yes, so you're Bomodiana, yes, Adia Oyama Ghana, any Omaino, so that at least we can take it from there and then build it because of the Senator, how he wanted to build Ghana to where he was, to where he wanted to make it better. But then we are here to celebrate him, to appreciate what he has done for Ghana, to appreciate what he has done for our party. We love him. We know he's a man of principle. Or he will be very hardworking, very, all teamer. Will be one day he did something I will never forget on the 18th of June. Nicholas, he did something that I never believed as a president. Personally, he had to intervene in something that some of us wanted him to do. And he personally called me to tell me that, Mustafa, you are my son, and that whatever you've asked me to do, I will do it for you. I was surprised as a president. It was on a Thursday, and I was shocked that the president even intervened for some of our boys who needed help. And so that should show you how down to earth the president is, President Atta Mills. And so, now you're celebrating on it is because we know he's a leader, he's a compassionate leader, will be truthful, humility, or a humble, very modest. All the things that you can use for a good leader, in Ghana. And we are happy to celebrate him, and forever and ever we'll be very grateful to the people of Ghana for voting him into power. And wherever he is, we ask that God will continue to bless him and to protect him, and that we know, through the mentorship that he has given to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will make him proud wherever he is. So we are here to celebrate him, and that will make him proud.
Okay, he said, Prophet Dimba,
well, humble leader, and a modest leader. That is what all of us want to serve and remember him for.
Yebeda si Alhaji Mustafa Mamenko nuaba Shamima Muslim ho. Abapa bibi abako de Haja yeda nyame ase. We be PM of the 13th lectures of Professor J. Mills, the late president.
Well, once again, we are all here to celebrate the life and impact and the values of the late President Atta Mills. Me feel say obiaji tum say President Atta Mills na usher into our body politic, a more value-driven, a more unifying approach. Ghana for nyina eto no father for all, because of feel say time now oba into being no your body politic no, was so divisive and so vindictive from the experiences previous, political appointees had gone through in the hands of the former president, then John Ejekun Kufuor's era. And that value of unifying a nation and recovering a nation from political vindictiveness, it is what continues to sustain us as a people. Danyamiase for the life, the teachings, the values the former president, the late President Evans Atta Mills has taught us, and it is our hope that we will continue to live by those principles.
Okay, you better ask Papa. Your home education minister, Honorable Haruna. Sorry. Yeah, TVXYZ. Okay. Also, Besamba na Eddie and Como. Eddie Alisa, Brennan, Jumedian. So far, I'm saying who Honorable Sene a painful bebre or Jumedia Sidi and Oka.
Yeah, like I told you, it's an occasion to come and celebrate the old man. If he was alive with us, he'll be 81 years this year, and we have missed him. It's like with hearts. Nyoma Ojama Subaina Ode di national politics mono. So a young person now will rap politics more. You have to follow suit so that people will see that this is the training or this is the bringing of Professor Mills. Sisi Anauka, Honorable Education Minister Aruna Idrisu, very humble person. Under Professor Mills, he got a chance to serve as a minister and other things. So that are bringing the many more people you see, the many more young persons you see in our national politics today. You talk about Okudzeto Ablakwa, who is our foreign minister. He was given opportunity very young at the time. People talked about it, but you see the grooming. Today, look at where he has got into. Then you talk about the defense minister, Dr. Kofi Omanibuama. You have Kwachi Fosu, all of them at the time, very young persons. But they came in, and like I said, they made their mark, and with time, they have matured. So today, if we are here to celebrate for so many reasons. Though he has passed on and is not here physically with us present, we believe that his spirit, his soul, his wisdom, his knowledge, his experience that we so left with us is being shared all over. I have a book in my hand I just bought. It's all about
Atta Mills.
Atta Mills, yes. Many more people have written other books and publications about him, where I am. And it's interesting to see what his policy orientation, how he believed in the Nkrumah orientation. You understand? What he stand on corruption, what he believed, the alternative uses for monies that are stolen in national life that should be invested in the transformation of our society. You could clearly see his intentions when it came to that. And then you could see how modest he was with, the national kitty. Say, Omaini Sikano, Hen, Subai, and you never saw him fly a private jet in the air for anything. He was very modest. You understand? Yes. Even when he was sick and everybody saw that he needed help, he had to go to hospital. He was very modest about his request to the state. So this is a great person. The wife, Nadu Mills, you see her, very modest woman. You see the son, Kofi Atta Mills, very modest. So Utumusa Nipano is down to earth. Nyame and share that born go into his family. If you know the sister, the elder sister, she was living in Kumasi for a long time working as a nurse. It was not until the day the brother passed on that people in the community got to know that this was Professor Mills' sister. Can you imagine how humble and how down to earth that they were? You see Uncle Sisi, very down to earth. He's always relating with everybody, very affable. And it runs true. It runs true. And that is what we must learn, and we must leave a legacy. We must tell the generation the story of who he was and what legacy he left for this nation when it came to politics. Not only in politics, he taught at the University of Ghana Law School for over 25 years. Also at the business school for over 25 years. Many judges you see today, many business executives you see today, many lawyers, many more lawyers you see today were trained by him in the classroom. They sat in his classroom. He was also a visiting lecturer in many universities outside the country. He had a stint in 84, 85 to go outside, 86, 87 to also go outside. And I can tell you, it was not an easy thing. He did so well. So he excelled. He excelled as a person. Okay. As a president.
Alisa, but me who honorable Kalisiza, Kasariansa, Wako, Ono CEO de Metro Mass Transit. Honorable Bibiabo Code.
Ah, nyame adom nti.
Ye ho wache. Say dwuma ma opan.
Because bintimi so man starting to maybe a mesako.
Okay, Jumedi and I say, the late Professor Mills, and the lecturer, course 13th lecture. Then I walk on home.
I'm saying Professor Mills has led, in fact, he left a big legacy in the hearts of many of us, especially the young ones. I really blazed my political career during Professor Mills' time. And we worked so very well with him. And what really endeared our hearts, and we continue to remember him, is about his humility, his character of having peace with everybody, his forgiving heart. And you know, his demeanor was always something that was very welcoming. And so many of us who were working with him at that time, at that young age, were so much enthused and so much comfortable working with him. And he's someone who never forgets. Indeed, he's someone who rewards. And so when he became president, all his promises he made to the young ones like myself, when I was a regional secretary for the NDC in Upper West, he really fulfilled them. Because he said that he was going to ensure that many of the young ones will serve in his government. And that has how come some of us, Baba Jamal, Okujoto, and the rest, all had the opportunity to serve in his government. And so this is a man who will continue to celebrate in our hearts in every day, because the man really taught us a lot of, lessons in life, especially with the young ones. He used to tell us to be humble and emulate his examples, having a forgiving heart. That is how come he was a Christian as Asumdwehine. And you realize that after he even took over office, people thought he was going to be vindictive, considering the way the then government treated him and his party. But he opened up his arm to welcome everybody. And if you could recall, many people had a problem with that kind of gesture. But in all, it healed the country and brought us together. And the country seemed to have started a new chapter, because people thought that he was going to come to prosecute his opponents. But he said, no, let's start afresh. So lost.
And the medal honor. In
the same field at the University of Ghana. This reflects his lifelong dedication to learning and cultural scholarship. In terms of his entrepreneurism sector, he trained under a Ministry of Tourism UNDP initiative as one of Ghana's tourism internationally. Parallel to his tourism ventures, Mr. Deborah demonstrated a strong entrepreneurial spirit and became a founding partner and director of the Royal Derby Group of Companies and successfully built businesses across various sectors. These include hospitality, microfinance, vehicle inspection, real estate, media, and manufacturing. This efficiency and strategic growth. He spearheaded significant institutional transformation as the CEO of the Ghana Tourist Board, a position and appointment that was given to him by President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory. He expanded the popular Kwewu Paragliding Festival into the broader Kwewu Easter Festival. His effectiveness led him to receive further appointments by President John Dramani Mahama. And so in 2013, he was a minister again, and the only individual to hold both regional portfolio and his adaptability. In June 2014, he was elevated to Minister of Local Government and Rural Development and piloted affordable housing schemes directly impacting urban development and service delivery. Mr. Julius Deborah as Chief of Staff at the helm of government operations. In February 2015, Mr. Deborah was appointed Chief of Staff assuming the critical role as the topmost official in the Mahama presidency. This demanding position placed him right at the heart of government operations. He was responsible for managing the President's office, coordinating policy implementation, ensuring interagency collaboration, and driving the NDC government's agenda. His knowledge of government programs. He brought a approach to the highest level of public administration. Following his 10 advisory role and served as senior advisor to John Dramani Mahama during his period in opposition. He was instrumental in mobilizing working groups that shaped the National Democrats 2020 and 20s, were further evident in his role as co-chair of the presidential life. President John Dramani Mahama, upon assuming office for his second term, reappointed Julius Deborah as his chief of staff. His deep cultural roots, his high emotional intelligence, his pragmatic leadership, his unique career trajectory from heritage tourism, entrepreneurship to executive statecraft symbolizes a commitment to service that effectively bridges traditional values with modern governance. He is married and a proud, devoted father of 4. His career stands as a testament to his public leadership.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, the Right Honorable Speaker, the Chairman, Directors, and Eminent Advisory Council of the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, our seasoned headline speaker, Madam Charlotte Osei, friends from the media, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nananum, you're all welcome. I am honored to be asked to chair this year's anniversary lecture in memory of the immortal principles, ideals, and ideologies of an illustrious son, one of Africa's great, His Excellency John Evans Fifi Atta Mills, the 11th in the line of Ghana's presidents. His Excellency, the late president, would have been 81 years this year, and Ghana, on the other hand, has celebrated her 68th independence this year also. Now, these numbers must summon a lot of interesting reflections concerning the fact that a Ghanaian pensioner retires at the age of 60, and the average life expectancy in Ghana is about 66 years. Put differently, Ghana would have been reflecting on the progress she has made 8 years on after going into retirement, and 13 years after the loss of an illustrious son. Since the untimely and painful loss of our national gem, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, our nation continues to relive his extraordinary good works and impact on national governance. Let me share a few with you. During the launch of the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage in 2022, the then former president, now President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, eulogized the economic stability that this country experienced under the hand of the former tax expert. He described his former boss, J.E.A. Mills, as having achieved an unprecedented economic growth of 14%. This including both the oil and non-oil sectors. Here we learn that the leadership style of the late Professor Mills contributed significantly to our economic fortunes. During the 2022 launch also, the chairman of the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, Mr. Alex Segbefia, stated the principles and values that the former president stood for, which this legacy lecture seeks to include or inculcate in our people. They are passion, excellence, integrity, inclusivity, accountability, commitment, and humility. Talking about his humility, let me share a personal experience with you. So one day I got a call from Uncle Beba Kumensa, who said, Julius, Prof, the Opasor Eastern Region as regional minister, Etifao CV Bremi. Then I went to see Uncle Beb with my CV. Now, there was supposed to be an announcement on one particular day after the independence celebration. So I was so excited, I had dressed in my white, seated on my bed, waiting for the announcement. Unfortunately, when the announcement came, my name was omitted. I felt very sad. Then, to my surprise and amazement, if a president tells you he will do something for you, and for a reason or two he's not able to do it, I don't think he owes you an apology. One morning, my phone rang, and when I picked it, it was Honorable Sam Atta. So I picked it as Uncle Sam and said, Julius, hold on for the president. I said, yes, sir. And Prof was like, Julius, today I didn't know now how pa. And I said, oh, but I'm managing, sir. He said, Julius, most your band, no, I won't continue to be a better mercy. And that's why I drop your name. And today, I still think about it. Does the president owe an ordinary person like me an apology? That is the level of his humility. As destiny may have it, a few months down the line, President Mahama fulfilled the promise President Atta gave me by making me the Eastern Regional Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, you would agree that these lessons carved from the unique stories of distinguished personalities and many more are needed in our current day leadership and political governance. It is why today our President, John Dramani Mahama, and other like-minded men and women of honor are working so hard to reset Ghana. Therefore, the theme for this year's commemoration, Atta Mills, a case study for the Fourth Republic, is an opportune reflection on the importance of principles, identity, and responsive leadership and transformational legacies. Your Excellencies, every now and then, when we go down our knees and thank God for keeping our peace and oneness as a people, we must extend this thanksgiving to the loving memory of President Atta Mills. The late president is not only celebrated as leader of high moral standards and patriotism, but also one with an exceptional level of tolerance and respect for dissenting opinions. His love for peace and stability translated into how he handled disagreements and the politics of divisiveness during the time. The title Asumdwehini is a lasting description of the role Atta Mills of blessed memory played in consolidating our peace, stability, and unity as a people, despite our volatile multi-party landscape. Distinguished audience, from the Asumdwe title given to the late president, to a seasoned task scholar, and to a virtuous leader descriptions of the late president, one can only love, appreciate, admire professors. One cannot but miss him on his 81st birthday. Every year, we are fortunate that this commemorative lecture presents us the opportunity to learn a piece of a leader who once lived and impacted many lives. This year, after a critical analysis of Ghana's fourth constitutional republican status, which commenced in 1993, one can conclude with certainty that there was something unique about Professor John Evans Atta Mills and his leadership under the Fourth Republic. I am sure our seasoned lawyer and former EC chair, Madam Charlotte Osei, will do justice to this topic. Even more so, I am told she became the first keynote speaker of the memorial lectures who was a student of Professor Mills. Professor Mills taught her company law, and she received the prize for the best graduating student in company law. Allow me to give a few precursors to highlight the additional importance of the team. In telling the story of the late John Mills, it must not be lost on us that he was once Vice President under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. By virtue of this, the late statesman did not embody only one generation. He was a blend of the experience of the post-military regime and the democratic constitutional government. He had practical experience of what it meant for a country to continue grappling with developmental issues, lack of public trust, and the ills of both perceived and actual corruption within our public space. He understood bold and courageous leadership, but as a respected jurist and teacher of the law, he appreciated the aspiration and wishes, concerns and chants of the people. Our people and country were crying for a principled yet people's leadership. The people silently called for patriotism and not the politics of petty partisan divisions. God's gift to our fourth republic was John Evans Atta Mills. He was a hybrid of the old order and aspiration of the people. Someone who knew Professor better and understood his fundamental principles, Dr. Cadman Atta Mills, his brother, noted the many factors that have shaped his political journey and identity leadership. And I quote, "But as we have seen, Bra Fifi was not simply the product of his personal beliefs, character, and faith. He was also a product of his environment, his family situation, the opportunities open to him, the expectations of others, and what was considered acceptable behavior by his parents, family, friends, and teammates. This was the gift given to Ghana and humanity. A leader born out of divine will of the time, a hybrid of our past and the future we aspire, a father and exceptional politician who blazed the trail in his time. He is a colossal figure whose impact was felt and expressed. And I dare add, we must continue until we raise the generations of many Atta Mills. On this note, I accept to chair this auspicious lecture in memory of the late President John Atta Mills, and for a man who personally looked up to Prof. For his exceptional personality and humility, it is a privilege, honor to chair this lecture. Thank you.
Another round of applause for the Chief of Staff and our Chairman for today's occasion, Honorable Julius Deborah. And Mr. Chairman, permit me to continue with some important acknowledgements. Let's say a big hello to Nana Entry Jemfi, who has joined us as well, one of our elders here today. Thank you very much for joining us here. We'd also like to acknowledge all members of the Council of State, all members of the Council of State who are present. If you could please give us a wave so we can see you. All members of the Council of State, thank you very much for joining us as well. Also, all members of the Council of Elders and National Executives of the National Democratic Congress, if we could also please acknowledge you. Give us a wave, thank you very much. They are seated throughout the auditorium. Today is the Minister for Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Let's acknowledge him with a round of applause. If we can see you, Honorable. We also have our Minister for Fisheries, Arthur. Honorable Amelia Arthur is here with us as well. Thank you for joining us, Honorable. Our many traditional and religious leaders, thank you very much for joining us. Nime, Name, thank you. We appreciate you very much for making time to be here with us today. Joining us here is the brother of Professor Mills. Thank you very much for being here. The son of Professor Mills is also here with his wife. So Mr. and Mrs. Kofi Mills, they've also made the journey to be here for today's lecture. Thank you very much for joining us. We also acknowledge the siblings of Professor Mills and other family members, and thank you for being here. Mr. Prosper Bani, the National Security Advisor, is also here. Thank you for joining us, sir. Our Minister for Defense, Dr. Omani Boama, is also here. If we could please acknowledge you. The Honorable Minister, thank you very much for joining us here today. And to all other distinguished guests, and as we mentioned, we'll do our very best to acknowledge you, and we thank you and appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. Mr. Chairman, although we may have an inkling of why we are here, it is apt for us to be formally and officially informed of the purpose for today's gathering. And to do the honors, I would like to invite to the stage now the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President and Board Chairman of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage, Honorable Alex Segbefia.
Good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Julius Deborah, Chairman of the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, Your Excellency, Vice President of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang, who is also representing our President, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama. The Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Abambagbin, the Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, our General Secretary, Honorable Fifi Kwete, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, former Chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, our host, current and past ministers of state here present, current and past members of parliament here present, esteemed representatives of our religious bodies, members of the diplomatic corps, Nananum, Nime, Name, Togbio, Mamao, members of the media, our fourth estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills, late President of the Republic of Ghana, and the only President of Ghana to have died in office, was a unique individual who touched the lives of many people in a positive manner. The essence of leadership is to give hope. And President Mills gave us so much hope for a better Ghana for all. Forthright, calm, God-fearing, and God-loving, a man of peace and a father for all. President Mills ensured that he left an enduring mark, a legacy, a heritage in a country which continues to miss him 13 years after his death. He was incorruptible and a man of integrity, a rare combination in some politicians. He was also an intellectual of no mean repute and a sportsman par excellence, with a particular passion for hockey. He brought to bear on the Ghanaian presidency all these unique attributes of his personality. The significance and greatness of a person predominantly lies in how history perceives him. That perception is carved out of many factors, but primarily tend to be from what views others have of that person. If the lectures of the various high-level caliber of presenters at the commemorative lectures of President John Evans Atta Mills over the last 13 years are anything to go by, then we are really privileged as a country and a people to have such a man as our president, indeed, a godsend. The of the lectures is the revelation of character traits which we all know exist, but laid bare in different contexts each time. Today will not be an exception by our keynote speaker, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, for she knew him well. The J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was birthed and duly incorporated on the 14th of October 2021 as a company limited by guarantee. It is a not-for-profit, non-partisan, independent organization. It exists to promote President John Evans Atta Mills' unique view of society, to cause positive actions in strengthening democratic values and human development. Its vision is to inspire humanity for a better society. The John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage is working to inculcate into Ghanaian society the values and principles of the late president. After its incorporation, the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was launched on the 1st of February 2022. The Memorial Heritage has since gained NGO status and has been duly registered with the Department of Social Welfare. The Heritage has embarked upon a number of activities over the years, and we have been responsible for a number of publications. The Great Launch, which is a report of the proceedings of the launch of the Heritage. Atta Mills Speaks to the World, which is a compilation of Atta Mills' speeches at the UN, which highlights the achievements of President Mills. We have also been responsible for a number of commemorative lectures, which we doctored into a remarkable publication entitled Atta Mills Around the Regions. Additionally, we continued our support for education by sponsoring academic awards at the University of Health and Allied Science, UHAS, further reinforcing Professor Mills' belief in academic excellence and opportunities for all. The Heritage Board of Directors is chaired by myself, former Minister of Health and currently the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President. I have a committed team of board members comprising Honorable Sammy Atta Mills, Member of Parliament for Komenda, Edina Eguafu Abirem, I believe I'm correct, and the younger brother of President Mills, Mr. C.C. Kwenu, Acting Commissioner of the Gaming Commission, and Madam Nana Oye Bambo Adu, Deputy Chief of Staff Administration, who is the Board Secretary and also our Chief Executive Officer. Late Honorable Dr. Sherry Aite was a founding member of the Memorial Heritage and member of the board until her untimely demise. May her gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Her replacement is Miss Nancy Ampofo Esquire, a distinguished senior lawyer. The Memorial Heritage is made up of the Memorial Heritage Advisory Council is made up of 15 eminent personalities. It is chaired by Togbi Apede, the 14th, a Bobomefia of the Asogli state of the Volta region. The vice chairperson is Dr. Esther Ofe Abwaji, former director of the Institute of Local Government Studies. The other advisory council members are Dr. Kadban Atta Mills, Mr. Kwame Pienim, Honorable Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, Mr. John Henry Mate Newman, Na Al-Hassan Andani, E.M. Commodore Mensah, His Excellency James Bebaku Mensah, Mr. Kweku Bram Labi, Professor Agnes Atia Apusiga, Alhaji Ahmed Vanderpoel, Dr. Abna Oye Jampo, Mrs. Kate Kwote Papafio, Mrs. Marafatu Abiola Bawa. The NDC party, in collaboration with the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, will commemorate the passing of President John Evans Atta Mills on the 24th of July 2025, this Thursday, with a wreath-laying ceremony at the Asumdwe Park, where his remains are interred at 9 a.m. prompt. The 24th of July is the exact date and month of his passing. All are duly invited. It is always a solemn ceremony which reignites the depth of loss we have suffered as a nation with the passing of this true patriot. On Saturday, the 26th of July, at 8:30 a.m. at the Theodosia Oko Hockey Stadium in Accra, the President John Evans Atta Mills Hockey Tournament will take place to climb anniversary celebration. All are invited as well. At this juncture, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the board and the advisory council to thank the planning committee. To mention a few in no particular order: Emilia Atta, Eric Osei Owusu, Sylvanos Tamaklo, Kwame Prepra, Ludwig Lodge, Kwame Nahoy, Kofi Totobi Kwachi, Kwesi Ahoy, Ni Jangba Vanderpoy, Ni Lante Vanderpoy, Daniela Matthias, and Atu Ahoy. The list is far from exhaustive, but due to time constraints, I plead for forgiveness if I have left your name out. We take this opportunity to thank the numerous philanthropists, donors, whose actions have made these events a success over the years. Special mention is made of the input of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, and Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Mention must be made of the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, who has been quite generous to us. Honorable, we are grateful. We extend our deep appreciation to Nadu Ernestina Mills, wife of President Mills, for her continued support for our activities. Thanks to one and all for continuing with us on our journey of ensuring the legacy of this great icon of our land endures forever. God bless us all.
Another round of applause for Honorable Alex Segbefia. And thank you very much, Honorable. Again, he is not only the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President, he's also the Board Chairman of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. Mr. Chairman, at this juncture, I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the legal advisor to the President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Marietta Brew, who has also joined us. A round of applause for her. There she is. Thank you very much for being here with us, Honorable. And once again, we are live on Accra FM, Class FM, Wazon TV, and on Clog TV. So for those who are watching us from wherever you are, thank you for joining us. At this juncture, we will take a musical interlude. And we know that President Mills was a lover of choral music. Today, we have the distinct pleasure of being entertained by the world-renowned Harmonious Chorale. They will give us one song, and after that, we will hear from the family of our late president. Please give a round of applause to the Harmonious Chorale, Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes, please, an enthusiastic round of applause for the Harmonious Chorale and their wonderful rendition, and I'm sure we'll hear more from them later. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Majority Leader is here with us, Honorable Mahama Ayariga. Please let's welcome him with a round of applause. Thank you for joining us, Honorable. And the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, Honorable. Thank you for joining us. If we could see you, if you could give us a wave so we can capture you there. He's somewhere in this room. Thank you for, oh, he's there, all right. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable. There he is, and there's the Honorable Majority Leader as well. We would also like to announce that this Thursday, which marks the exact date of the anniversary of the passing of President Mills, there will be a wreath-laying ceremony at Asumdwe Park. So again, that will be on the 24th of July, Thursday, at Asumdwe Park, a wreath-laying ceremony at 9:30 a.m. All are invited to attend, so please take note of this important ceremony. Again, it will be on Thursday, this Thursday, the 24th of July, to mark the anniversary of the passing of President Mills. And at this juncture, we would like to invite Honorable Samuel Atta Mills, MP for KEA constituency in the Central Region, to give some remarks on behalf of the family of the late President John Evans Atta Mills. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I stand on the existing protocols? But I need to recognize my mother, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Achema. May I also pick out Auntie Sati, Auntie Fosi, and so many other people over here. And my mentors, the great leader, the great conspirator, and then the great consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, I thank you so much for remembering our big brother. He has been an inspiration to all of us, and I hope and pray that those of us coming up will live up to the standards that he lived. And we pray that at the time that we also pass away, somebody will remember us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel Atta Mills. Let's give another round of applause to him for speaking on behalf of the family of President John Evans Atta Mills. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we're also live on Power FM and TV XYZ. and many other stations, as we've already mentioned. And now, it is time for us to take a quick look at a compilation of information about President John Evans Atta Mills. I will ask everyone to train their eyes to the screen as we watch a short documentary. Thank you.
Ghana will be able to move forward in leaps and bounds, and Ghana will continue to be a beacon to the rest of Africa. Ghana has been transformed. I keep telling people, Ibineze Oba Anapa, Ibineze Obe Wia, Ibineze Obe Nyubire. Once you are with her, the good Lord will be with us all.
Professor John Evans Fifi Atta Mills was born in Takwa in the western region, but hailed from a Kumfiotwum in the central region of Ghana. He received formal education at Achimota School, where he completed the advanced level certificate in 1963, and the University of Ghana, Legon, where he completed a law degree in 1967. While pursuing a PhD in law from the prestigious School of Oriental and African Studies in London, the Prof, as he was affectionately called, was selected as a Fulbright scholar at Stanford Law School in the United States in 1971. He earned his PhD at age 27 in taxation and economic development. Mills' first formal teaching assignment was as a lecturer at the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana. He returned to Ghana to work at his alma mater, the University of Ghana, for 25 years. He became a visiting professor of Temple Law School, Philadelphia, USA, with 2 stints from 1978 to 1979 and 1986 to 1987. Again, he was a visiting professor at Leiden University, Holland, from 1985 to 1986. During this period, he authored several publications related to taxation during the 1970s and 1980s. By 1992, he had become an associate professor of law at the University of Ghana. Outside of his academic pursuits, Professor Mills was the acting Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service from 1986 to 1993 and the Substantive Commissioner from 1993 to 1996. Professor Atta Mills served as Vice President to Jerry John Rawlings between 1997 and January 2001.
We have a country where only the privileged few are enjoying, while the generality of the people
are wallowing in poverty. This must come to an end. And I assure you, Atta Mills and the NDC will provide the needed relief. May God bless us all.
He took over the leadership of Rawlins's National Democratic Congress and lost 2 presidential elections in 2000 and 2004 respectively.
Mr. President, welcome to the United States. Welcome to your delegation, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for this very warm reception. My delegation and I are really honored to be here today. First, to say a big thank you to you, Mr. President, for the honor done us by singling us out for your first visit to Africa on assumption of office. It really inspired us. And I'm also here to also thank you for the help that we have been enjoying and for the high level of cooperation and collaboration that exists between our two countries. We share the same values of democracy. We have come to accept that democracy is the only way, and democracy goes with development. And if you come to Africa, our people are yearning for only one thing: improvement in their daily lives. And there can be no development without peace.
In spite of the defeat, Professor Mills surged on, and in 2008, he ran under the campaign slogan, "A better man for a better Ghana," on a platform of change, and became the 3rd president of the 4th Republic of Ghana in 2009.
My brothers and sisters, we want no violence. We want no cheating. We don't want any bloodshed. I know that the good Lord himself has already blessed us. NDC will go back.
It's been a long but enjoyable struggle, and I'm very grateful to the people for the confidence that they have reposed in Atta Mills and in the NDC.
One interesting thing about Professor Mills's victory in the 2008 elections is the fact that he was the 3rd John to become president of the 4th Republic of Ghana. He became president after contesting for the 3rd time, and the 3 rounds that characterized the 2008 elections in which he won. Those who were close to him say he was a man of high integrity, humility. He was liberal-minded, and the word peace was his watchword. His supporters branded him as Asumdwehene, which literally means the king of peace. Under his governance, a number of projects were undertaken in line with his Better Ghana agenda. Amongst his accomplishments as president was his presiding over and initiating Ghana's first ever oil production. He was also credited for the growth of Ghana's economy during his term. One can say that the Prof was one who believed in education, and a number of projects in this area have been credited to his administration. The elimination of schools under trees, the provision of free uniforms to school children in public basic schools, and the distribution of free exercise books to primary school pupils between 2010 and 2011 are some of his good works. The school feeding program was also rationalized to target schools in more needy communities. In the area of health, the replacement of 13 non-functioning lifts at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital and other projects at the same hospital have been credited to the administration of Professor Mills. There was also significant increase in coverage of the National Health Insurance Scheme. Other areas were the energy sector, infrastructure, agriculture, and security.
Enianum medawana si na mbiri bia wonfanda se manyankopone owo na yeben things were not easy. We had a lot of difficulties, but we have come this far. Look, there is a lot that we can show Ghanaians that we have done for them. Along the way, we have had to make sacrifices, and many of you here have felt the force of the sacrifices that we have made. But I want to assure you that the next 4 years are going to be better. The next 4 years are going to see our dreams fulfilled, because we have been able to remove the impediments.
Away from his official duty, the Asundre Hene, as he was fondly called, was enthusiastic about sports and enjoyed field hockey and swimming. He also once played for the national hockey team and remained a member of the veterans hockey team until his death. He was also a board member of Heart of Oak and a Manchester United fan. On 24th July 2012, at 2:15 p.m., Professor Johnny Vance Atta Mills passed on after a short ailment at the 37 Military Hospital.
Fellow countrymen and women, our nation has been hit by an unprecedented tragedy. Our nation is in mourning
at the sudden and untimely death of the President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Professor John Evans Atta Mills. For the first time in the history of our dear country, we have lost a sitting president who worked so tirelessly for his people. Madam Speaker, the President was taken ill around noon today. He was rushed to the 37th Military Hospital, and try as the medical team did, they were not able to avert this tragic loss. The President at 14:15 hours this afternoon. This is the saddest day in our nation's history. Tears have engulfed our nation, and we are deeply saddened and distraught.
It is the wish of many Ghanaians that he finds rest in the bosom of his Maker. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
May God continue to bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger.
Let's keep the applause going for the beautiful documentary honoring President John Evans Atta Mills. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to welcome our keynote speaker for the 13th anniversary commemorative lecture, we will transition from this wonderful documentary with another musical performance from the Harmonious Chorale Ghana. Please do enjoy this music before we take our lecture. Thank you. And another round of applause for the harmonious Chorale Ghana. They are still here with us. And with that, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite to the stage the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and Member of Parliament for Shamar Constituency, Honorable Emilia Atta, to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Mr. Chairman, the Chief of Staff of Ghana, Her Excellency, how sweet it is to say this, Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, members of Council of State, Majority Leader of Parliament and Leader of Government Business, the National Chairman and the General Secretary of the party, senior party members, numerous hard-working party executives at all levels who have filled this room, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues of mine, ministers of state, MPs, friends of JEA Mills Heritage, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My task here is the simplest and the easiest because I'm so happy to be the one to introduce the person going to speak about the man, Atta Mills. On 2nd May 2011, working in my capacity as Deputy Western Regional Minister, an appointment he gave me with senior party officials who are seated to my left-hand side as I stand up here, who had come to the Western region to work with me on how to move our government and party forward. Whilst the and service, Mrs. Charlotte Kerson-Smith Osei, who is going to give us the Atta Mills lecture this afternoon. In honoring the memory and legacy of President John Evans Atta Mills, a man of principle, President John Evans Atta Mills, a man of principle, peace, and public purpose, it is only fitting that we welcome a speaker who embodies many the same virtues that defined his leadership. Mrs. Charlotte Osei is a lawyer by training and a public servant by calling. She holds degrees in law from the University of Ghana, an LLM from Queen's University in Canada, and a master's in business leadership from University of South Africa, Pretoria. She made history in 2015 when she was appointed as chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, becoming the first woman to hold that office. In that role, she supervised one of the most pivotal elections in our recent history, upholding democratic principles under immense national and international scrutiny. It was called one of the world's best elections by international observers. Before that, she served as the first female chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, where she championed civic awareness and democratic participation, core values that President Atta Mills upheld with unwavering devotion. Mrs. Osei's commitment to democratic development and governance has earned her regional and international recognition. She's a respected voice on issues of rule of law, gender equity, constitutionalism, and electoral integrity across Africa and beyond. Today, as we reflect on the life and values of President Mills, his humility, his calm strength, his integrity, it is deeply appropriate that we are joined by a woman who has not only broken ceilings, but has done so with grace, excellence, and courage, but more importantly, was one of Professor Mills's students and mentees. Ladies and gentlemen, Nananom, please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for the 2025 John Evans Atta Mills Heritage Lecture, Mrs. Charlotte Osei.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, henceforth Auntie Nana, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Honourable Julius Debra, Chief of Staff and Chair of today's lecture, members of the Board of the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, members of the Atta Mills and allied families, Honourable Ministers of State, members of Parliament, members of the Council of State, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our revered chiefs and queen mothers, our landlord, the Vice Chancellor of the UPSA, justices of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, members of the Fourth Estate, my brothers and sisters. Is it too late to swap places with Auntie Nana for her to be here so I can? No, you won't, okay. In a world of noise, integrity is a silent superpower. It is an incredible honor to stand before all of you today to deliver this year's J.E.A. Mills Memorial Lecture. I do so with deep emotion and profound humility, paying tribute not only to a president, but to a teacher, a mentor, and a father figure whose life significantly shaped mine and the lives of many others. As I prepare to share my reflections of Uncle Fifi, I am reminded of former President Muhammadu Buhari's words. He said, President Atta Mills was a good man, a very good man, one of the very best from our continent. These words capture the essence of the man we honor today. My name is Charlotte Smith Osei, and I had the extraordinary privilege of being taught commercial law by Dr. Mills, as he was, at the University of Ghana, Legon, and later company law at the Ghana School of Law. More significantly, in 2011, he appointed me as chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, making me the first woman to hold that position in Ghana's history. Today, I speak as a mentee, reflecting on the profound impact of a teacher who saw potential where others saw youth, who offered opportunity where others saw inexperience, and who built bridges where others saw divisions. A theme for this year's memorial lecture is Atta Mills, a case study for the Fourth Republic. I will be approaching this theme through three lenses. I will look at Prof as a man, Prof as a teacher, and Prof as a president. And then I'll share the reflections of a mentee. It's important to look at Prof's character because his character defined everything he achieved, and his character is the reason why we're honoring him today. Prof was born on 21st July 1944 in Takwa, Western Region, and he tragically passed away on July 24th, 2012, just 3 days after his 68th birthday. But in those 68 years, Prof lived a life that exemplified the highest ideals of scholarship, public service, and human dignity. He was born to John Atta Mills Sr., an educationist at Commended Teacher Training College, and Mercy Dawson Amwa. Young Fifi was a second child and the first son among 7 siblings. From his father, we learn that he inherited a love of learning and teaching, and from his mother, he gained the gentle strength that would characterize his leadership style. His educational journey, as we've been told, took him from Honey Valley Methodist Primary School to Commended Methodist Middle School, and then to Achimota School, where he completed his ordinary and advanced level certificates in 1961 and 1963. At the University of Ghana, he completed his Bachelor of Law degree and Professional Law certificate in 1967. Mills's pursuit of higher education took him to the London School of Economics for his LLM in 1968, and then to the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London, where he earned his PhD in law in 1971 at the remarkably young age of 27. His selection as a Fulbright scholar to Stanford Law School in 1971 was not merely an academic achievement. It was a testament to Prof's character and potential. The Fulbright program chose him not just for his intellectual capabilities, but for his potential to be a bridge builder and a leader. At Stanford, his colleagues remember him as someone who listened more than he spoke, who asked thoughtful questions, and who approached every challenge with both intellectual rigor and human compassion. He was, in the words of one Stanford professor, a scholar gentleman in the truest sense of the term. Perhaps no quality defined Mills, the man, more than his humility. In a continent where political leaders are often known for high-handed approaches to power, Mills remained remarkably grounded throughout his life and presidency. His humility was not weakness, it was strength under control. This humility was evident in his famous declaration that I have always said that I will be president for all Ghanaians, whether they voted for me or not, and without consideration for which part of the country they come from. These were not mere campaign promises. They were the words of a man who truly understood that leadership is service and not privilege. His approach to leadership emboldened me personally on 2 occasions to tell him, while he was president, that I thought a decision he took was wrong, and in another case, the decision was unfair because he had not listened to the other party. Typical of Prof, he took the criticism very calmly. We argued as lawyers, and he told me, when you're president, you see things very differently. Eventually, in one of the matters, months later, I got a message from him. He said, you were right and I was wrong. That was an emotional moment for me and a great lesson in leadership. And I did learn that power that fears criticism is already bankrupt. In an era when political integrity often seemed like an oxymoron, Mills stood as a beacon of. His integrity was not situational, it was absolute. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, current president of Nigeria, best captured this aspect of Prof in his tribute when Prof died. He said, President Atta Mills was a man with a profound, comprehensive intellect. Unlike many individuals whose public courage as a politician diverges negatively from their private persona, the private and public morals and practices of this man were undifferentiated. There was no seam dividing the public official from the private man. He was guided by a moral compass that did not waver according to the circumstance. Before President Tinubu knew this. Those of us who were his students knew this already. Interesting story from first year. We had decided to go to London over the summer holidays to job. My first challenge, of course, was getting a visa. I went for the visa interview, and the official interviewing me asked me what I was going to do in London for 3 months. I told him I was going to see the sights. And he said, "You're a law student." I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, can I advise you?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Before you become a lawyer, make sure you become a better liar." I said, "Thank you." I got my visa, and with my roommates, we went off to London to job. Then the university reopened, and we were late. I managed to get into Ghana before my 2 roommates, and I managed to get myself registered for second year. My 2 roommates came back, and they were told by the dean that they had been deferred for 1 year. One of my roommates, Irama, was actually a niece of Professor Mills, who was vice dean. So we figured, go to Prof's home, go and plead, and of course, if Prof makes a case for Irama, it means everybody else can sneak through. So Irama goes to Mills's house that evening and comes back to our room, very, very angry. He said, "What did Prof say?" "Oh, Prof said, it's only 1 year. It doesn't matter. You can study French or computer during that 1 year." So at that point, everybody else knew that there was no hope. Irama spent the year studying French. So we knew that his approach to corruption was uncompromising. So when he said, "I would not spare any government official, be it past or present, who would be found guilty of embezzling state funds," it was not political rhetoric. It was a moral conviction that guided his administration. Prof was also fundamentally a man of peace. This was not passive pacifism, but active peacemaking. He understood that peace was not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, understanding, and mutual respect. His philosophy of peace was captured in his words: "We are going to ensure that there is peace before, during, and after the election. Because when there is no peace, it's not the elites who will suffer. It's the ordinary people who have elected us into office." When we were students, Prof told my class, this was a peacemaker, that as far as possible, we should make sure we are not the reason for anyone losing their job. Many of my classmates remember this caution. We can't remember what we were talking about. Later in my public life, trying to be the good mentee, I applied this advice to my own significant harm. But the good thing was, Prof was right. There was peace because I took the path of peace. So, peaceful Prof still wins the day. But there's also another story one of the students told me that showed me that although it was good that Prof was peaceful, Prof would have been a very poor litigation lawyer. So, Commonwealth boys went on a protest and misbehaved very badly. In their words, they disciplined a particular student. So the head of their JCR was in trouble. And the student who had been disciplined was a relative of Prof Mills and went to hire Prof as his lawyer. Prof calls the dean of students and says he wants to see the Commonwealth president and ask him that, you people went to do ABC? And he said, yes. Prof said, let me advise you. Go quickly to the student who was disciplined and go and beg and make peace. Because I know it was a prank that went too far, but if it goes to court, you guys can be in a lot of trouble. The guy quickly snipped there. He didn't even tell Prof that he was also the chief choir master. And he went and he apologized and made peace, and that's how the matter died. So most litigation lawyers would know that this is not the path to making money, but that was Prof. But Prof's character was also shaped by his love of sports and by his being a family man and a Christian. He loved sports. Everyone knew this, particularly hockey. He played for the Ghana national hockey team, and he learned valuable lessons about teamwork, discipline, and fair play. The values from the hockey field, working together toward common goals, respecting teammates and opponents, understanding that individual success means nothing without team success, would later inform his political leadership. Most of my law school colleagues would recall male students gathered around Prof after lectures. They were not discussing law or tax. They were discussing football. That was the measure of the man. Behind the public figure was a devoted family man, married to Ernestina Nadu Mills, with son Kofi Sam, and many siblings and extended family. His approach to family life reflected the same values that guided his public service: love, respect, commitment, and sacrifice. Mills's character was deeply rooted in his Christian faith as a Methodist. His belief in divine providence gave him strength to persevere through political defeats and personal challenges. He genuinely believed that his talents and opportunities were gifts to be used in service of others and not privileges to be enjoyed for personal benefit. The character of John Atta Mills, the man, created the foundation for everything he would accomplish as a teacher and as a president. His humility made him approach, but provided the support necessary to achieve it. He had very high expectations, and his marks were usually very low. But he also had high investments in our success. Mills understood that teaching law was not just about imparting legal knowledge. It was about developing legal minds. He taught his students not just what to think, but how to think. He emphasized critical analysis, logical reasoning, and ethical reflection. He wanted his students to understand not just the letter of the law, but its spirit and its purpose. He saw law as a tool for addressing social justice or for enabling social justice and national development. He did not see legal education as merely professional training, but as preparation for service to society. Hence his earlier admonition about not being the cause of anyone losing their job. He also emphasized the importance of integrity in legal practice. He understood that as lawyers, we would face situations where we could choose between personal gain and professional ethics. Through his teaching and personal example, he sought to instill in his students the moral foundation necessary to make the choice. And this teaching went beyond the classroom to his approach to everything. Honorable Nana Oye and her friends were living on campus, and Mills was teaching at the law school. His lectures were at 7 a.m. in the morning because he had to lecture before going to the IRS. And he started giving a group of them lifts to Makola. So when there were 2, it was fine. But as word spread, they became 3, and then 4, and then 5. So now, Prof decided that when he gets there, he's not going to decide who gets into his car. The first ones to arrive get the lift. And that was Prof. Always fair, even in the little decisions. While he was an excellent classroom teacher, his greatest impact as an educator came through his mentorship relationships with individual students. Prof had an extraordinary ability to identify potential in young people and to nurture that potential through guidance, encouragement, and opportunity. As one of his students in both commercial law and company law, I experienced firsthand the transformative power of Prof's mentorship. Prof saw something in me that I had not yet seen in myself. He challenged me to think more deeply, to write more clearly, and to aspire more boldly. But But more than that, Prof believed in me at a time when I was still learning to believe in myself. Mills was particularly committed to mentoring young women in law, recognizing the barriers we faced and the potential it represented. Lady Julia Saitutu and myself were two young women who probably would not have been able to obtain our Master of Laws degrees without the support of Prof. Mills. He was a constant referee on every young student applicant for graduate work. Through Prof's support, one of my classmates ended up at Prof's alma mater, the London School of Economics, for his LLM. And Prof helped him to get his first job at the Ghana Stock Exchange when he came back home. And for all the students, Prof did not have to know where we came from, who our parents were, he just helped. Prof was always accessible to his students. When I was at Queen's University in Canada, I worked in the library. And one time they were throwing away all the books where they had additional copies. So I asked them, what were they going to do with the books? They said they were going to be trashed. And I said, oh, could I have them for the law faculty? And they said, yes. So I ended up with 48 boxes of books in my apartment. Now, I didn't know how these books were going to get to Ghana. Every week, my landlord would come and look at the boxes and ask me when the boxes were moving. Eventually, I think Prof was at the IRS at the time. I managed to get a message to Prof that I was about to be kicked out of my apartment with 48 boxes of law books. Prof immediately called the High Commissioner. They sent a van and they picked these 48 boxes of books before my landlord kicked me and the books onto the streets of Kingston, Ontario. That was Prof, always accessible. Beyond all this, Prof was very committed to building the institutional capacity of the Faculty of Law. He wanted Ghanaian students to be able to compete with their counterparts anywhere in the world. But he also wanted us to understand and address the specific legal and development challenges facing Ghana. So as much as Prof would help you to get graduate admissions and go do your masters, Prof would always stay in touch and encourage you to come back home. So his appointments as visiting professor at Temple University in Philadelphia, and he was a visiting lecturer at Leiden University in the Netherlands, enriched his teaching. It also opened up opportunities for us, his students, because most of us got admission to these universities because on the strength of Prof's references. Prof was also a very kind lecturer. He was one of those lecturers who was always giving lifts to his students. There was one particular lift story that happened in my class that was very interesting. Because the three parties in this story are now a Court of Appeal judge and two very respected lawyers, I will not mention their names. So, one day, the one who is now a judge was studying at the law library. He took off his shoes while studying and he fell asleep. Another classmate, let's call him J1, goes and picks his shoes. Then he decides to leave the library and hands the shoes over to J2. It was time for a lecture. J2, rather than leaving the shoes in the library, took the shoes to the lecture room. So our current Court of Appeal judge had to walk barefoot to the lecture room. So he gets to the lecture room, livid, and sees his shoes with J2. And asked J2 how he got his shoes. J2 said, hey, non est factum, not my deed. It was J1 who gave me the shoes. At this time, J1 is sitting in a corner of the lecture room. He knows he's in trouble. And the victim is making signals to show him that he'll get a good beating after class. So class ends, and victim goes to hide by the School of Communication Studies. There were some bushes there, waiting for J1 to come and receive the beating of his life. This would probably have ended up with at least two of them expelled from the law faculty. So J1 is hiding at the law faculty, unable to go back to the hostel. And then luckily for him, Prof used to come evenings to check his mailbox on his way home. Prof comes, law faculty is dark, and Prof is like, what are you doing here? He mumbles something. Prof said, no, you get into my car. So he gets into Prof's car. They drive past the victim still standing in the bushes, and he waves at him, waiting to beat him up. And Prof takes him straight to his hostel, which was out of Prof's way, and then Prof drives off to Legon Hills. And so every time we talk about this, I certainly, one of you would not be a lawyer today, and one would not be a judge, because you would have all been sent home. But that was the measure of Prof, and that was the kind of relationship Prof had with his students. Perhaps his greatest achievement as a teacher was his role in creating the next generation of legal and political leaders in Ghana. Many of his former students have gone on to distinguished careers in law, business, government, and civil society. They carried with them not just the legal knowledge he had imparted, but also the values and principles he had modeled. My own appointment as chair of the NCCE in 2011 was just one example of how Mills continued to mentor and support his former students throughout their careers. He did not see graduation as the end of his relationship with his students, but as the beginning of a new phase of mentorship and support. Even as president, Mills maintained his commitment to education and to young people. His administration's focus on education reform, his emphasis on bringing young people into government, and his continued engagement with students and young professionals all reflected his understanding that leadership was ultimately about teaching and mentoring the next generation. When we talk about Mills bringing his students into government, Professor Kwame Nahoy likes to remind me that he was also a student of Prof. Mills. But I have spoken to other former students of Prof, and we have unanimously agreed to reject him from that club on the grounds of age. He doesn't qualify, and he's a prof. We are dealing with the young students. So Mills understood that the teacher's role was not just to impart knowledge, but to inspire learning. He wanted to create not just knowledgeable citizens, but thinking citizens who could analyze problems and evaluate solutions and contribute to national development. These traits we see in his path to the presidency and how he served as president. Prof's journey to the presidency was not a straight path, but rather a testament to perseverance, principle, and the democratic process. His political career began in earnest when he was selected as vice president under President Jerry Rawlings in 1997, serving until 2001. This experience provided him with invaluable insights into the workings. His first bid for the presidency in 2000 ended in defeat to John Agyekum Kufuor. Rather than retreating from politics, Mills used this setback as a learning opportunity. His second attempt in 2004 also ended in defeat. But again, he demonstrated the resilience and determination that would characterize his leadership style. It was not until 2008, on his third attempt, that Mills finally achieved his goal of becoming president of Ghana. His victory was narrow, less than 1 percentage point in a runoff election. More importantly, it represented a peaceful transfer of power between political parties, demonstrating the maturity of Ghana's democracy and Mills' commitment to democratic principles. Mills came to the presidency with a clear vision encapsulated in what he called the better framework for national development that reflected his understanding of Ghana's challenges and opportunities. The Better Ghana agenda was built on several key pillars: economic transformation, social development, good governance, and infrastructure development. But underlying all of this was Mills' fundamental belief that Ghana's greatest resource was its people, particularly its young people. He understood that building a better Ghana required not just better policies, but better leaders. And that meant investing in the leadership development of the next generation. Mills's approach to the Better Ghana agenda was characteristically thoughtful and inclusive. He did not claim to have all the answers, but he rather sought to create a framework within which Ghanaians could work together to find was more revolutionary than his deliberate decision to make his administration what was proudly called a government of the youth and women. This was not tokenism or political calculation, but a fundamental reimagining of what government could and should look like. Mills understood that Ghana's future belonged to its young people, and he believed that they should have a voice in shaping that future. He also recognized that women represented an underutilized resource in Ghana's development, and he was determined to change that. Among the young people Mills brought into his administration were individuals like Atta, Haruna Idrisu, Dr. Manibu Amwa, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, Samuel Kujetu-Ablakwa, and of course, one of his other students, Professor Kwame Nahoy. Bringing all these young people into public service and politics was not accidental. He deliberately and very intentionally tasked people, including Professor Ho himself, to find student leaders at universities and other smart young people and bring them into governance. He did not just appoint young people, he appointed qualified young people, and then he gave them the support and authority necessary to succeed. The youth empowerment was not about lowering the standards, but about creating opportunities for excellence. Although he selected me to chair the NCC, it was not without several interviews, which he presented as conversations to establish my competence, and also that I was not a card finalist. Ethnic region, but only if that diversity was properly harnessed and included in the governance process.